Let me ask you a question. When you set your alarm tonight, how much actual genuine sleep do you think you're going to get?
Most people probably think they're getting a good amount, right?
Yeah, exactly. You aim for that golden 8 hours, maybe
Hmm.
9 if you're like trying to catch up on a weekend or something.
Right.
Well, prepare to rethink your entire relationship with your bed because you are wildly overestimating. We are diving into a framework today from our source material that suggests humans only truly deeply sleep for exactly 23 minutes a night.
Yeah, it is a profoundly counterintuitive number. I mean, 23 minutes of actual restorative sleep.
It's crazy.
It really is. And the rest of the time you are unconscious. Well, you are essentially just passed out from sheer physical fatigue.
It's a wild distinction to make because during those 23 minutes, your physical body and your consciousness are completely powered down, like entirely offline.
Totally offline.
A thief could be out in your yard making an absolute racket, throwing trash cans around, and you wouldn't even stir. You are in a state of total untouchable suspension.
Right. You're unreachable.
But that immediately raises a massive question for you, the listener, and, well, for me too. What is happening during the other 7.5 hours we spend lying there?
And that's where the mechanics of human consciousness start to really reveal themselves. Because during those remaining hours, you aren't actually experiencing the profound rest of the soul.
Right.
Your physical body has collapsed from, the friction of moving through gravity all day, but your consciousness is highly active. It actually shifts into a state of active reception.
Meaning it's doing work.
Exactly. This framework posits that dreaming isn't just your brain firing off random synaptic misfires or like organizing your memories from the day.
Which is what we usually hear.
Right. Instead, you are actually receiving telepathic environments.
Meaning we are picking up signals.
Yeah.
Ancestors, spirits, the natural environment itself, like they are broadcasting and we're tuning in.
Spot on, which completely explains why you can sleep for 9 hours, wake up, and feel mentally exhausted.
Oh, I hate that feeling.
We all do. Your physical muscles rested, sure, but your consciousness was literally working the night shift.
That makes so much sense.
What's fascinating here is the mechanism behind that reception. You aren't physically traveling anywhere when you experience a vivid dream or an out-of-body sensation.
You're still in your bed.
Exactly. Instead, your consciousness is processing an environment being fed directly into it. But to understand how a non-physical signal gets translated into something your consciousness can actually experience, well, we have to look at the hardware.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because this is the true mission for you today in this deep dive. We aren't just doing some overview of sleep hygiene.
No, definitely not.
We are diving into the hidden physics of human consciousness. Specifically, we're going to explore this deeply specific mechanism known as the 6006 mind energy files.
It's such a complex concept.
It really is. We're going to look at the explosive moment they are formed at birth, how they act as this hyper-advanced filter for every interaction you have, and the literal universe-altering physics of the words you speak.
To truly grasp what this mind energy is doing while you sleep, or honestly, right now as you listen to this, we have to go back to your exact origin point.
The very beginning.
Right, the spark of life. Because this system is not something you gradually develop over time. It is forged in a fraction of a second.
The exact moment of birth.
Yeah.
And the most striking rule here from the sources is that this process never, ever happens in the womb.
It literally cannot happen in the room. The non-physical energy...
The soul, basically.
Right. The soul is incapable of entering the physical body of the baby while there is still a biological tether to the mother.
Oh, wow. So it has to wait.
Yes. The soul might be present, hovering in the immediate vicinity, just waiting for the vessel to be ready. But the physical separation must be absolute.
Meaning the baby has to emerge, and that umbilical cord must be severed.
Exactly. So the cord is cut, the baby is physically isolated in the world for the first time. And then we have this incredible event, which the text refers to as the docking.
The docking, that sounds so sci-fi.
It does, but it's an event of unimaginable friction. The moment physical separation is achieved, that waiting non-physical energy rushes into the physical vessel.
And it doesn't just gently seep in, right?
Not at all. It violently fuses with the biological form through exactly 6006 specific acupuncture points on the body.
And the baby's physical reaction to this is visceral. I mean, they shudder violently. The sources say they might turn blue, their tongue sticks to the roof of their mouth, and they let out this vibrating, intense first cry.
Which is terrifying for parents.
Totally. We usually just think of that as a baby clearing its lungs, taking its first breath. But this framework frames it as a biological system desperately trying to stabilize a massive influx of foreign energy.
Think about the mechanics of what is happening in that split second. You have pure physical matter, so flesh, blood, bone, and pure non-physical consciousness colliding at incomprehensible speed.
Just slamming together.
Right. That shuddering is the literal friction of those two-dimensional realities trying to synchronize their frequencies. The biological nervous system is essentially being hijacked and integrated with the soul.
I always picture it like turning on a massive hadron collider. Like for that first second you power it up, the magnets scream, the entire facility vibrates, and it feels like the whole thing might rip apart from the sheer amount of energy being forced through the circuit.
That's a great analogy.
But then the beam stabilizes. The intense shaking smooths out into a quiet hum.
And that stabilization is the crucial moment, because the result of that intense friction, of that spark of collision between the physical and non-physical, is the creation of an entirely new structure.
Right.
It forges a two-dimensional energy interface known as the mind energy. And this interface is composed of exactly 6,006 particle files.
I want to make sure we really understand what two-dimensional means here. Because we aren't talking about a flat drawing on a piece of paper.
No, not at all. In this context, two-dimensional means it acts as a membrane. It has no physical depth or volume in our 3D space.
So you couldn't find it with an X-ray?
Exactly. It sits exactly on the threshold between the physical brain and the non-physical soul. It is a literal filter, an interface layer that translates the physical world into spiritual data and vice versa.
So it's the ultimate translator, a 6006 file operating system. But I have to ask, what if this docking sequence fails? What if the separation happens but the soul doesn't dock and that two-dimensional membrane of 6006 files is never forged?
The sources are very blunt about this. Without the formation of this mind energy, the resulting entity is biologically functioning, but it is essentially indistinguishable from an animal.
Wow.
Yeah. The successful docking, that initial spark, and the generation of those 6006 files is the definitive proof of a successful human incarnation.
So it's the literal dividing line between a highly evolved primate and a conscious human being.
Exactly.
Okay, so assuming the docking is successful, you have this 6006 file membrane installed. How does this dictate your everyday existence? We touched on sleep earlier. If I have an out-of-body experience while dreaming, my soul leaves, but I don't die. So mechanically, what is death?
Death is simply the permanent failure of the mind energy.
Okay, clarify that for us.
Well, during an out-of-body experience, the soul can detach and wander, but that two-dimensional membrane, the 6006 files, remains anchored in the physical body, keeping the biological systems running.
So the interface is still active, the lights are on, but nobody is home.
Precisely. But when a human life reaches its absolute conclusion, the mind energy stops functioning. And the moment that membrane collapses, something highly specific happens to those 6006 files.
They break apart, right?
They break apart instantly. They don't just slowly fade away into the ether over a few days.
That would be too messy.
Right. They scatter instantaneously. Without the magnetic anchor of a living human system to hold them together, the particles snap back to their original frequency stations in nature.
Okay, wait, give me an image for that.
Imagine a powerful electromagnet holding thousands of iron filings in a perfect, intricate pattern.
Oh, I could see that.
The moment you cut the power, the pattern vanishes, and the filings just drop back into their natural, chaotic state.
Boom. Gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The files return to the natural environment without any constraints of space or time, and the physical body immediately ceases to function.
That is heavy. But while the power is on, while you and I are sitting here talking, and while you are listening to this deep dive, how are these files actually operating? Because it sounds incredibly taxing.
Oh, it is a hyperactive processing engine. The 6006 files act as an intricate, high-speed filter for your entire existence. Every single thing you perceive does not just enter your brain simply.
So it's not a direct feed.
No. When you look at a tree, or hear a song, or read an email, that sensory input hits the physical brain, sure, but to actually enter your consciousness, it must be pushed through that two-dimensional membrane.
Through all 6006 files.
Right. The data is rapidly analyzed, broken down into its base frequencies, and processed through those specific files before it is finally stored in your soul as an experience.
Man, and here's where it gets really interesting to me. Because it is a two-way street. It's not just about how we process the world coming in.
Right.
When I formulate a thought, when I decide to open my mouth and speak right now, that energy doesn't just magically become sound, it has to pass out through that exact same membrane.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the very core of human existence.
Mhm.
The mind energy analyzes the incoming data, yes, but when you produce a response, it structures that outgoing energy.
So it formats it.
Exactly. Your intention is pushed through the 6006 files, being formatted and condensed in microseconds before it triggers your vocal cords and actually leaves your mouth.
Which brings us to a profound, almost staggering concept in the source text. Since everything we emit passes through this hyper-complex frequency filter, what are we actually manufacturing? What is the human machine designed to produce?
Words. Words are the only true production of a human being.
We normally think of words as just acoustic vibrations, right? Displacing air molecules so someone else's eardrum can catch them. But we're talking about something entirely different here.
Completely different. We are talking about literal, non-physical energy products. When you speak, you aren't just making noise, you are emitting an energy signature that does two things simultaneously.
Okay, what's the first?
First, it is delivered directly into the consciousness of the person listening to you. It exchanges with their mind energy.
Right.
Second, it is broadcasted out into nature via those 6006 frequencies. And once that energy is released into the natural environment, it remains there permanently.
Wait, permanently. So every conversation, every offhand comment, every argument I've ever had is permanently etched into the local environment.
Yes, your physical actions will fade. The building you construct will eventually crumble. But the word energy you produce leaves an indelible, permanent imprint on the energetic fabric of nature.
That is terrifying and amazing. And this energy isn't uniform, right? Not all words are created equal. This introduces the concept of the mass of our words.
Yes, the mass.
And when we talk about mass here, we have to move past simple physical analogies like a bowling ball versus a feather. We are really talking about intention density.
Intention density is the perfect way to frame it.
Yeah.
The mass of your word energy, its literal gravitational pull on the spiritual and physical world, depends entirely on the effort and intention you push through your 6006 files.
Give me an example of low mass.
Well, if you are just making small talk, gossiping about a coworker, or just constantly complaining, you are emitting very low mass energy. It's like a cheap flashlight beam.
It just scatters.
Exactly. It scatters immediately, it doesn't illuminate much of anything, and it has almost no impact on the environment or the person you're talking to.
But high mass words.
High mass words are like a tightly focused industrial laser.
I like that.
If you speak to someone with a concentrated, genuine effort to help them understand a complex situation, to elevate their perspective, or to help them grow, you are condensing your energy.
You're doing the work.
Yes. Your 6006 files format that intention into incredibly dense, high-mass word energy. And when that energy hits the listener, it has the literal power to alter their spiritual physics. It changes them.
I have to push back on this a little because it challenges the very foundation of how we define helping people in modern society.
Let's hear it.
Okay, let's say I have a friend who is facing eviction. They are literally running out of food. If I sit down and offer them high-mass words about their situation, that doesn't pay their rent.
Right.
That doesn't put calories in their stomach. How does this metaphysical framework reconcile basic, brutal physical survival with spiritual help? Are physical resources really just secondary?
It's a tough concept, but this framework makes a ruthless separation between survival and evolution. Physical materials, so money, food, a place to stay, they are necessary expedients.
Just tools.
They are tools to keep the biological vessel alive. If someone is starving, you obviously must give them food so their mind energy doesn't collapse and they don't die.
Okay, good. That's a relief.
But providing a physical tool does not resolve the underlying soul-level condition that manifested the crisis in the first place.
So I can pay their rent, but if I don't give them anything else, they'll just end up facing eviction again next year. The cycle repeats.
Exactly. You bought them time, but you did not change their trajectory. True, profound human help only happens through the exchange of high-mass word energy.
Wow.
If you provide the physical expedient, but fail to offer dense, illuminating words that help them understand the mechanics of their life and how to evolve past their current patterns, you haven't actually helped them on a soul level. You just kept the machine running on a treadmill.
So what does this all mean? It means this ability to speak, to transfer mass, is an absolute superpower. And it is completely exclusive to us.
It is the defining feature of humanity. I mean, animals communicate danger or biological needs, but they do not push energy through a 6,006-file membrane to alter consciousness.
Plants definitely don't speak.
Right, and even the gods in this specific framework do not generate word energy with mass.
Wait, really? The gods don't speak?
Not with this kind of mass. The ability to condense intention into a frequency that can permanently alter the universe, restructure the people in front of you, and influence the spiritual realm, that is a distinctly human mechanism.
So we have this invisible physics engine running inside us, taking in the world and broadcasting permanent, universe-altering energy. I want to bring this right down to the listener's daily reality. How does this dictate our most intimate relationships?
It dictates everything about them.
Let's look at marriage. Why do so many marriages start out feeling like absolute destiny and end up feeling like a trap?
Well, according to the mechanics of the 6006 files, the health of a marriage is entirely dependent on the mass of the word energy being exchanged.
So the honeymoon phase is just high mass exchange.
Exactly. When a couple first meets and falls in love, they put immense effort into their communication. They desperately want to be understood, and they are intensely curious about their partner.
So they're taking their time, condensing their intention, and firing incredibly high mass word energy at each other.
Right. They are literally feeding each other's mind energy.
It feels electric because it actually is electric. You're receiving dense, high-quality fuel, but then years go by.
Time passes and the effort drops. People get comfortable, or they just get exhausted by physical life.
Work, kids, bills.
Exactly. They stop pushing dense intention through their 6006 files. The mass of their words plummets. They start using empty phrases, talking past each other, or communicating purely about logistics.
Like who is picking up the kids, what is for dinner.
Yeah, the high mass energy exchange breaks down entirely.
And when you starve the mind energy of dense input, the affection inevitably drops.
It has to. You are no longer providing the spiritual calories your partner needs, and this leads to the most dangerous state in any relationship, which is silence.
Silence is dangerous.
Living in silence with a spouse or a child creates immediate mutual hardship. Because if you are not exchanging high-mass words, you are just two biological vessels occupying the same physical space, entirely disconnected.
Just roommates.
Ugh.
There is a piece of advice regarding this in the text that is shockingly blunt. It states, quote, "If you cannot communicate with someone, you are wasting time and you will face difficulties."
It's very direct.
It frames time not as a measure of hours, but as the raw material we use to generate this energy.
Time is your only finite resource for operating your mind energy. If you have a friend who constantly wants to hang out, but neither of you is willing to put in the effort to exchange meaningful, high-mass words.
Like if you just sit silently watching a screen or engage in low-mass gossip.
Right. In that case, you are advised to completely cut them off.
Just walk away from the friendship.
Stop spending your time with them, because by sitting in that low-mass environment, you are wasting the very purpose of your 6006 files. You are burning your most precious resource without generating any true production. And by misusing your time like that, you are actively inviting difficulty into your own life.
Does this scale up? Like if this is how a marriage or a friendship operates, what about a nation? What about leadership?
Oh, it scales up flawlessly. A leader's primary tool, often their only real tool, is their speech.
Right.
Leaders who speak with low mass, meaning they use empty rhetoric, manipulate without genuine intent, or fail to put true effort into understanding the collective, will inevitably face public disgrace.
Because their words are like that scattered flashlight.
Exactly. They lack the gravitational pull required to anchor and guide a massive group of people.
The energy just dissipates and the people scatter.
Conversely, leaders who speak with high-mass word energy, words forged with genuine intent to elevate and illuminate the people, will naturally achieve massive success and deep respect. The collective consciousness of the public naturally aligns with dense, high-mass energy.
Okay, let's take a breath and synthesize the journey we've been on today. We started with the jarring realization that our physical bodies only require 23 minutes of true suspension a night.
Right.
We discovered that explosive moment at birth, when the non-physical soul violently docks with the physical vessel, creating the friction that forges the 6006 files of mind energy.
And we explored how that two-dimensional membrane acts as the ultimate processor of human life, translating the physical world into spiritual data and formatting our consciousness into outgoing energy.
Which led us to this staggering realization that every single conversation we have is an act of creation. We are broadcasting literal, non-physical energy into nature and into the people we care about.
Our words has mass.
They have mass. They have gravitational pull. They are the only true thing a human being produces.
And the mass of that production determines the survival of our marriages, the value of our friendships, and the rise and fall of our leaders.
So what does this all mean for you listening? It means that you are not just a walking biological machine bumping into other machines.
Far from it.
You are a highly tuned, unbelievably complex energy processor. Your words are not just acoustic anomalies. They are your ultimate contribution to the physics of the universe.
Which leaves you with an important reflection as your physical body powers down tonight. Consider those 23 minutes of suspension.
Yeah.
While you are completely under and your mind energy shifts to receiving telepathic signals, the words you spoke today are still out there.
Permanently.
If every single word you speak is permanently broadcasted into the natural environment through those 6,006 frequencies, what kind of energetic signature did you leave behind in your conversations today? Were you adding dense, high-mass value to the universe, or were you just shining a cheap flashlight into the void?